Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Total Picture. Today we're talking beans, so let's get started. So now that everything's all said and done out in the fields as far as harvest goes, we want to bring you back to our facility, and we want to talk to you about what we're going to be doing basically from now well into the spring, and even touching on to when we start planting season for 2024. So today we're talking about our bean side. So once we get our beans harvested, we actually have a pretty straightforward way of how we can process our beans. So we've talked about the many differences between our corn and soybeans. One being that we field dry our beans, whereas we facility dry our corn. So when we bring our corn in, we have to dry it on our premises in our own dryers. The soybeans, when we bring them in, they're as dry as we want them to be. So once we get our soybeans back to our facility, they go into our soybean dump, and they can either go into a bin storage, or they will go straight into our soybean facility to be conditioned, treated, and then packaged. So if they go straight into our facility, the first thing they're going to do is we are scalping all of our seeds. So this means that we are sending our soybeans over that waterfall of screens. So they're flooding over these screens. It's shaking back and forth extremely fast, extremely aggressively, and we're looking at sizing our soybeans right off the bat. So this is a good practice because, one, it can catch things like leaves and debris and like large pieces of the soybean stem. So there's a few different things we can do with this, including getting our soybeans to that perfect size. So we've talked about it before, but on the screens that the soybeans are flowing over, that are shaking back and forth, the very top one, if the seeds don't go in there, they're too big. We can't use them because we have to have so many in a bag. So we have some in the middle that kind of help size it down in the positive range that we're looking for. And then once they get down to the very bottom one, if they're going through that one, they're too small again, because we don't want those small seeds, because since we have to fit so many in the bag, it's the same thing for the larger. The number of seeds that we have to put in there is the same. So with the size differences, the bags are either going to weigh far too much because they have to be huge because they're fitting the same number but these much larger beans, or it's going to be really low because it's fitting the same number but the beans don't take up that much space, they're too small. Plus they can just be unhealthy. So the beans that are filtered in those middle screens, those are good. We want to use those for seed. So they go from the scalper up to our color sorter. So the color sorter, we use the same thing on the corn side. It's looking for small imperfections, discolorations, cracks, infection, things like that can appear very physically on the soybean. And it looks at the soybean from 360 degrees. And if it sees that, puff of air shoots it out, just like on the corn side. So we do have a recycle process that we can send our beans through, so that's not just one and done. Maybe it saw something different, maybe there's a piece of dust in the way, what have you. So we want to make sure that we are getting as much out of this process as possible, but also making sure that we do get rid of what needs gotten rid of. So from there, once it's been through the color sorter and everything looks good, the beans from there go to our gravity table. Now this is where we're sorting out to, we're sorting by the density. We're looking at, the best range possible for our seeds. And so same thing, we stack it on the table about yay deep. Then we stratify with air from underneath, like an air hockey table. And so the beans are floating and shaking. And so the ones that have a high density, that are good quality, they're moving up and up. The ones that are too light, they might be infected, or the germ might be dead. They're going off the end because they're too light. And so we sort it by that last step with density, which also factors in size, of course. So the good ones, they fall off one end of the table and they go up to the next floor where we're going to be treating. And the bad ones that are taken off the other end of the table, they go out, they're discarded, they're put back into the animal feed market. So we do end up using everything for one purpose or another. So all of our seeds get discarded. They end up going, going to the elevator, and they get turned most likely into animal feed. So like I said, they get used one way or another. We're using everything, but we just can't use them for what we're doing here at Total Seed. So the good ones that are going up into our facility, they are going to the treater, and from there they are getting treated however our customer would like. So from there, they get whatever treatment they need. They get put in the drum, they tumble around. Once they're perfectly coated, they come out here. And so it can constantly just produce a conveyor belt of seed for us. So once that's done, once the treatment is dried on this line, it falls down into a hopper, and from there, it's getting one of two packaging options. We're either putting it into a hopper to be loaded into bulk bins, which is the big black boxes that we see, or it's going to get put into our standard bagging line, where it's going to get put in a standard seed bag, sent down the line, and boom, we have a pallet of seed ready to go. So that's the main process of how our soybeans get from the field into packaging and everything in between. It's a pretty straightforward process that it's not as many steps as our corn. Our corn takes a lot more steps. We are going to talk about that later because it's a massive tower with a lot of steps that goes up and down to get everything it needs to. Look out for that. But for now, that's how we do our soybeans. So if you guys have questions or want to know anything else about how we condition, treat, and package our soybeans, please let me know in the comments down below. We'd be happy to answer those and talk more about it. But that's the general process of how we get our beans ready for our customers. So it's a pretty cool process. It's definitely fun to go see live and in person and see everything working as it should. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing this peek behind the curtain. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. If you want more content from us, you can go find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And if you want even more content from us, you can go subscribe to our monthly Total Focus newsletter. Thank you guys again so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.